A video on chocolate mousse, which happens to be vegan. By default, I didn't purposely make it vegan, it just is vegan by default. So, we're using cheap chocolate, and this happens to be vegan chocolate. I'm sure my friend's a vegan and she said it was vegan chocolate, so I will trust her. It's just cheap supermarket chocolate. Obviously, the better quality chocolate you use, the nicer the mousse will be, but I'm all about cutting costs and faffing around with cheap ingredients, so these are about 30 pence each, so it's going to be cheap. So I've broken it up. I've used a rolling pin. You just leave it in the packet and just smash with the rolling pin. I didn't do that. I didn't want to knock anything over, but that's the motion of smashing. In a bowl, on some in a pan with some water underneath it, and the temperature and the gas is on. So that's called a bain-marie. So 200 grams of chocolate, 200 grams of boiling water. It's boiling just so it speeds up the process. Normally, well, I was taught that you should never add water to chocolate because it turns it grainy, but I've seen videos on that since, and it's actually disproven. Obviously, the more water you can put more water in, and it doesn't become grainy. So we're going to melt the chocolate. It's also going to heat the chocolate up. So that's what we're going to do. Is we're going to heat it until it's all nice and smooth. And there's no, as you can see there, the chocolate goes a bit there. But eventually, if you keep heating it, it will go smooth and it'll go like a chocolate sauce. I did something similar to this for like a refrigerator cake, where it was biscuits with chocolate layers in between, and that happened to be vegan as well. But I decided that we can have a play around, and we can make some chocolate mousse. So it's got no dairy in it. It's just water and chocolate. And we're going to make this chocolate sauce. I'll pause this in a minute because you don't need to kind of see this. You just need to see what it's like when it's ready. But you can see around the outside, it's a bit grainy around the outside. So, but we just need to heat it up enough that the chocolate fully melts into the water, and vice versa. The water melts into the chocolate. I don't think that makes sense, but that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to cool the mousse down, and we're going to whip it with the mixer, just a hand mixer. And as it cools, we're going to do it over a bowl of ice water. And as it cools, what will happen is that it will whisk air into the mousse, and it becomes nice and light. So it will form a mousse, and then we're going to put it in some nice containers, and then we might do something else with it as well. But we'll see what it sets like tomorrow. Overnight. Well, it won't take overnight to set up. It's just better that it's left overnight. So anyway, we'll come back when that's completely melted, and I have got a bowl of ice ready, and then it'll be the next stage. But it's pretty straightforward so far. Yeah, so if you want to buy really good quality, it needs to be dark chocolate as well. Obviously, if you're using milk chocolate or white chocolate, you kind of lose the chocolatey kind of flavour. So dark chocolate's your best kind of bet to make it really nice and chocolatey. And as I've said in other videos, and I'll repeat in this one, if you're not a fan of dark chocolate, you still have to use dark chocolate, because what's going to happen is, because we've added a certain amount of water to it, it's made it half as bitter again. So and we're going to whip it again, so it's actually going to get down to taste more like a milk chocolate than it does a dark chocolate. So you need to use dark chocolate. This will probably be about 60%, something like that. 45, between 45 and 60%. I can't see what it is, but anyway, it's that. So but you kind of, yeah, I think about 45%. Not too chocolatey, not too dark chocolate, but like about 60% is about right. And obviously, better quality chocolate that you use, the better your mousse will taste. But there we go. That's it for the moment. We'll just melt all that together, and then we're back when it's done. Right. So everything is mixed together. I've just given it a little bit of a mix with the mixer. I don't know why I forgot to call it. Forgot what it was called. I've just given a little bit with the mixer because it was taking quite a while. So now it's nice and smooth. The bits that you can see in there, that's just some air bubbles that have been whipped into it, which is what we're going to do. So the science kind of behind it is, that what's going to happen is that so there's some ice in that bowl, and I'm going to put another bowl on top of it. So that's what's going to cool it down. So the science bit is that as the chocolate cools and solidifies, it's going to trap some air bubbles. So that's where we're going to get the mousse from. So, right. So, try not to make too much of a mess, because I'll have to clear it up. Now, should we move that around? Yeah, we'll move that around. That's a little bit better. I've got cake in the oven as well, so I need to keep checking on that. So, the bowl that we've got the chocolate in, this bowl here, will be hot because it's on top of hot water. So we're going to put it into a cold bowl, which will speed up the cooling down process. It's a little bit too hot for me to touch. So, just don't have to do this. You can just let it cool down naturally. But I just want to speed up the process. So that into there. Like that. You might have to change the ice out a couple of times because the chocolate sauce is hot, so it might just want to melt the ice. But anyway, you'll see what I'm doing in a second. So that in there, and then because that bowl wasn't hot, it was cold. That's going to dissipate some of the heat as well. So it's just a simple case of putting the mixer in, and keeping the chocolate sauce moving as it cools down. I can't remember how long this takes to do. Like 5 minutes or so. But anyway, I don't know if. Yeah, I'll just put some timestamps in. So I'll just keep doing this until the mousse is formed, and then but I'll put some timestamps in so you can fast forward through to when it's ready, type of thing. I'm only going to do it on the first setting. I don't want to splash chocolate out everywhere. We just need to create some bubbles. As you can see already, it's starting to form some bubbles. But as it cools, those bubbles will be trapped rather than coming to the surface. Just and see. That's okay, the ice is melting that much, so that's fine. Probably wants a bit of water in there actually. How's that? That's alright. With bowls of ice, it's sometimes best to put a bit of water in with the ice, and then what it does, and then the thing that you're trying to chill has direct contact with the cold water as well. So rather than just where the ice is touching the bowl, it's got contact with the complete bottom of the bowl. That's what you do when you're chilling champagne as well. You put it in ice and with some water in as well. But anyway, it's fine at the moment. We'll just carry on the process. is starting to thicken up as it's cooling. Just need to have a look at the ice underneath. The ice is melting. What's that like? Maybe need to put a bit more ice in there. It's a bit of a faff, but it's sort of making proper chocolate mousse. And that. Yeah. So, start the process again. So, as you can see, it's starting to get a little bit more viscose. So it's starting to thicken up as it's cooling. So this is the stage where we just need to keep a better eye on it and not let it go too far. So as you see, it's thickened up even more now, and so what's happened is lots of the air bubbles have been broken up by the mixer blades, and they've started getting trapped in the chocolate as it solidifies. So that's what's going to give us the mousse. But we don't want to take it too far because it'll start to set solid. So it's fine balanced now of getting to a stage where it's we're not going to lose any many air bubbles. But we don't want to take it too far that it just turns into a solid block. So it's just a little bit careful. It's just a little bit careful at this stage, but I'll show you what we're doing. Right, that's about as far as I want to take it. As you can see, it's lightened up a lot in colour as well. I've left the freezer open like an idiot. So, bowl out of there because we don't want it to cool down too much anymore. So clean surface, and then we've got some nice glasses which I'll use for cocktails. We're just going to be turned into mousse, and then we'll just dry off that spoon, and then it's just a simple case of these are for, I've got some friends that I'm going to give a couple of mousses to. So as you can see, down the bottom it's cooling, so we just need to transfer into glasses, and then we'll put them in the fridge, and then they'll set, and you'll be able to see what it's like. It's not a particularly versatile mousse, like you couldn't quenelle it and do fancy shapes, but you can pour it into jars or glasses and let it set and then eat it, and it's very nice. So we'll just do that, flatten that out a little bit because I'm going to do something else. We don't want too much, and then these into here, and they want to go into the fridge. So you'd be surprised how these taste, because you're not diluting the flavour of the chocolate with something like cream or butter or milk. You pick up more of the chocolate flavours, so it's got what you would describe as a flavour profile as the chocolate, and you pick up a lot of those flavour profiles. So it's kind of quite interesting from that point of view. So that. Right. I don't want to waste any. Might just have to make a little bit more, but that's fine. I can do that later. So into there like that, into the fridge, let them set solid, and then you'll see what they're like once they've cooled down. But so that's kind of it at the moment. It's kind of done that. It's still a little bit liquid, but it just needs to set solid in the fridge. So the chocolate mousse has set, and it's been set overnight because it was getting a bit too late. So it's nice and set. As you can see, it's not wanting to fall out of the glass. I did make some more, and I put it in the container so you can kind of see the consistency. It's not like a I have been eating it, obviously. It's not like a luxurious chocolate mousse that would be made with egg whites or cream or have butter in or those type of things. It's kind of got, well, I'll kind of show you the texture. So it's nice to eat, but it's not like a classic chocolate mousse. So it kind of breaks in shards like that rather than dollops, if that kind of makes sense. But it's very nice, and what you find is that it picks up, because we've only put water in and we haven't kind of diluted the flavour with something creamy like milk or cream or butter or eggs or anything like that. You get like a pure chocolate flavour, and you pick up flavours that you wouldn't necessarily normally find, or you wouldn't normally taste in the chocolate. So this one for some reason has got like a bit of a cherry kind of taste to it and a bit of a cherry smell. Other chocolates I've used, you can kind of pick up like a bit of coconut in them. It's very nice. But anyway, so that is a vegan chocolate mousse. Very nice to eat like that. It's kind of, so yeah, it's kind of got it goes a bit like a ganache when it's solid. So potentially you could make chocolates out of that. You'd have to keep them in the fridge, but you could dip that in chocolate, and I think you'd probably be able to, maybe no, it'll probably melt, but you could do. But anyway, it kind of goes like a ganache. I've frozen it and I've used it. You could use it in the semi-Freddo. It's just one of those things. I think potentially you could use it as a frosting on a cake as well. So if you wanted to decorate a cake while it was still semi-liquid, you could use a thingamajig palette knife to smooth around a cake. However, it's chocolate mousse, and we're going to do something different with it. So we're going to make a coffee mousse to go with it. There is a name of this, I've forgotten. It was big on the internet a year ago. It's dead easy, and it's 3 ingredients, and it's pretty straightforward. So, okay, this is caster sugar, which is the sugar that you use for making cakes. So it's equal quantities of sugar, instant coffee, and water. So tablespoon of each, and then we're going to whisk it up, and you will be amazed. I was amazed when this happened. So, mixer again. Is it called long enough? It will be. So, excuse the noise, and you'll hopefully be able to see what happens. There you go. Instant coffee mousse. So we need a spoon. So you would never have thought that would have worked. It doesn't stay in a mousse for very long. So it doesn't stay like that for very long. So you kind of got to make it there and then. It's not going to stay in the fridge. You can't freeze it or anything like that. It quickly wants to go back, because it's not particularly stable, because there's no stabilizer in it. It wants to go back to the water wants to leach out of it. But we can put it on top of there, like that, and then we can make a cheap and decadent pudding. So you can see like that, two-toned, very nice. So yeah, completely vegan. I'm sure the coffee is vegan. I think it will be. I don't really know much about vegan food. Vegan by default rather than plan, but interesting all the same. And for things that you have around the house, and you can just whip something together, and doesn't that look kind of quite impressive? So we'll get another spoon, and then you can kind of see. I don't want to dip into it because I want to take a picture. But anyway, it's quite an easy thing to do, and it's also a fun thing to do. And you don't have to kind of have any skill of whipping up egg whites or anything like that. You can just kind of throw this together. The coffee moussey thingy, I've forgotten what it's called. I'll look it up, I'll probably put it in the description if I remember. And you can add it to lattes and things like that. So you can make a latte and add it to a latte or a cappuccino. So make yourself strong coffee and then put like a coffee foam on top, and it's delicious. Also the same kind of thing as well. So as you pick up different flavour profiles with the coffee mousse as well. So you pick up like an acidity. So it's got like a bit of a lemon flavour to it, depending on which coffee you kind of use. But let me just. It's a while since I made it, so I'll just taste. Yeah, it doesn't taste like coffee. It's quite strong. I mean, that's going to give you, if you ate all that, it's going to give you a real coffee buzz. But you pick up different kind of flavours. It's not particularly bitter because of the sugar, but you pick up, there's like citrus flavours to it as well, and it's quite an interesting thing to make because it teaches you about your palate and how things kind of change when you aerate them. It's why when they're drinking wine they slurp it, because it introduces air into the wine and it kind of tastes a little bit different. Anyway, kind of quite interesting, and just a bit of fun. And there you go. I think I think anyone could do that. And if you were having friends around and you presented them with that in a nice glass, I think they'd all be suitably impressed. But there you go. Chocolate mousse, made with cheap chocolate and water, and then a coffee whip to go on top of it. But there you go. I think that's it. I don't think I've got anything else to say. Nothing of warrant anyway. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there you go. Actually, I have got something to say. So, the chocolate mousse benefits the texture of it slightly benefits by being out of the fridge. You need to store it in the fridge, but it benefits from just being taken out of the fridge for 20 minutes, half an hour before you serve it, and then it just softens up slightly, because it can just be a bit, it just makes it just slightly nicer to eat. But if you're doing the coffee whip, you kind of need to do that and then instantly serve instant coffee, instantly serve it, because it wants to break down quite quickly. So it'll keep for 10 or 15 minutes, maybe half an hour, but anything longer than that, you couldn't do it for 6 hours in front, because it just wants to kind of revert back to like coffee water more than anything. But anyway, that's it, definitely. Oh yeah, and if you want to make it super fancy, get some chocolate and grate it on top, and then people will think that was absolutely wonderful. Obviously it's coffee, so if you kind of don't be serving it at 10 o'clock at night, because it will send people through the roof on a caffeine high. But anyway, there you go. So actually, the coffee whip on top has managed to stay stable for 2.5 hours, because I've been out swimming. I made it, and then I went out swimming, and I had some tea, so it's managed to stay stable. So you don't have to make it straight away. It will keep in the fridge for 2 hours. I don't know if it's going to last any longer in the fridge, because I'm going to eat it now, but it stays stable, so you don't have to make it last minute, which is kind of quite a good thing to know. It's starting to split a little bit. I can see some white in there. That might be the sugar, but it's okay. It's gone a little bit thicker like that, but coffee and chocolate works, doesn't it? It's one of those magic combinations. Oh, it's a bit late for coffee, it's like nearly 10 o'clock at night, but anyway, it stays stable, and we'll give it a taste. That's really nice, is that? Sorry, I'm hitting the camera. That's really nice. That's a winner, is that one? I shouldn't be eating too much of the coffee, because it'll keep me awake. But that is delicious. So, my advice is, if you want to have a go, just buy the cheap dark chocolate in the supermarket. Give it a go. If you're not too sure that you'll like it or it will work, just buy some cheap chocolate and have a go. And then if you want to make it more special, buy a better quality dark chocolate. I don't know what brands people buy, but like the more luxurious brands, and maybe the stuff that's got a little bit of flavouring in, so you can get stuff that's got sea salt in, or bits of orange or things like that. I think anything like that would work, but give it a go. It's a winner. So it's been in the fridge overnight, and the coffee whip is still coffee whip. So ignore everything I said about the coffee whip not being stable and it not lasting in the fridge. It lasts in the fridge, so do with that information as you please. If you wanted to make these chocolate mousses, they would be fine left in the fridge for 6-8 hours. It looks like anyway. So if you were doing them for friends before they came round, to cut out all the stress, you could make the chocolate mousse at least 2 days before, and then you could make the coffee whip 6 hours before. Easy peasy, give yourself a nice easy time. And then also, if other applications, whatever you're going to use it for, obviously it lasts. So yeah, so do with that information as you please. I'm sure there are a million ideas to do with it, that you can do with it. This is just one of them. Yeah, I suppose it would work kind of like a soft frosting on a cake. I don't think you'd have to keep it in the fridge, and as soon as you kind of pull it out of the fridge, it would want to melt. But there you go, coffee frosting. I've forgotten what coffee. I've forgotten what it's called. I'll look it up, but I can't remember. I think it's Indian. I think it comes from India or somewhere around that area. But there you go. Right, so the final word, maybe, on the vegan chocolate mousse with the coffee whip. I made some more, so I'm tacking this onto the end of the video about the chocolate mousse and the coffee whip. I had one biscotti biscuit left, Lotus biscotti, whatever they are, left, and I had a bit of chocolate, so I have smashed up the biscuit and I have grated some chocolate. So smashed up biscuit, grated chocolate. We'll see which is kind of best. I think from a texture point of view, we're going to get the crunch from the biscuit, and then creaminess and coffee hit and chocolate hit. That's probably going to be the nicer one, and then that's just grated chocolate. I think cocoa powder is probably a little bit boring and doesn't need the kind of chocolatiness to it, so I think that's going to be the best. You can always put the biscuit in the bottom and then make it like a cheesecake chocolate mousse set in a glass with the crunch at the bottom, but the biscuit's going to go a little bit soft over time, so maybe potentially better to do it that way, like an upside down kind of. No, it's not even upside down cheesecake, is it? But anyway, so we'll give it a taste. We'll go for this one first. So dig down, make sure we get coffee whip, mousse, and chocolate sprinkles. I mean, it's delicious. I don't think it really needs the chocolate on top. Does it have anything to it? Probably not really, apart from looks nice, or nicer. But it's alright. Like smashed up honeycomb would be nice on top, or like Maltesers or something like that. That would be kind of quite nice. So let's go for the biscuits. Obviously, having to faff around with honeycomb kind of adds more to it work-wise, and crunch is more expensive. So obviously, biscotti biscuits are cheap. So probably the cheaper, better option that wise. You don't have to make them; you just buy them. Yeah, that's the one to go for. The crunch of the biscuits and the mousse and the coffee. Yeah, that's the one to go for. That's what you do. Just some biscuits on top. It kind of wants to be ginger nut biscuits or ginger snap biscuits or something like a Lotus biscoff is certainly the way to go with the chocolate mousse. Just finishes it off and adds that crunch. Yeah, it's really nice as that. And considering it's vegan, and I always think vegan food gets a bit of a bad rep, that's really nice. You wouldn't, it's vegan by default, but that's delicious, it's that. And I think if you gave anyone who liked chocolate that, they would be utterly thrilled to bits. Pretty cheap as well. But there you go. I'm sure that's the final word until the next video I make about it, and then there'll be another final word, and then another final word, and then probably something else I've got to add.